One, two, three.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops.
Yes, so many cops are on the tick. What do you expect when they use tear gas and tanks? Whether in a car or on a horse, cops don't mind using excessive force.
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
This is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
So, in a car or on a horse.
A robot dog. You might have to change it.
Oh, robot.
Yeah. So everyone knows about the Rittenhouse thing. It'd be almost like if it's almost I don't know, not really, but I mean, I don't know how people would feel if remember that cop Christopher Donner who went off and killed a bunch of people. He went crazy because he was trying to whistleblow. He just went mentally ill, and then he killed a bunch of police officers and family members, and then they blew him up with a drone. But imagine if he survived, and then Obama made him Secretary of Defense. This is the kind of gloating that people are doing with Rittenhouse right now, which is like astronomically disrespectful for the people who died.
Because they weren't real people, because they were libtards.
Yeah, so no one did that when Christopher Donner died, killed all those people. But for some reason, when their heroes kill people, it's a celebration of blood to the highest degrees. It's disturbing. But we're going to talk about something that's...
And they're taking, they take deep joy in the pain and suffering of other people because, they're godly people.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
But we're going to have some good news that kind of got blotted out. Of course, the white supremacists in Charlottesville, even though we saw on camera them saying, Jews will not replace us, they still couldn't prove in court that it was organized hate crime that happened in Charlottesville. So this shows you that the legal system that supports white supremacy. We're seeing multiple cases that are showing it. I know it's shocking to people.
Yeah, even if it doesn't support it, it condones it. It allows it. It's free speech. Well, they're hurting people. And I don't mean like in the classic snowflake sense. I mean, they're injuring people with violence.
Yeah. But they still got to pay like $35 million. So, but at the same time, it's legal system.
Yeah, but they don't have that money, so they don't care.
Yeah, so the legal system still was like, oh, we can't use the Ku Klux Klan Act, even though they were inspired by the Ku Klux Klan. We can't use that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this country? But we're going to talk about some good news.
Well, remember that the law was not created with people that look like that in mind. It was created for black people.
But these were
just
white
like in
women.
The Rittenhouse trial.
These were white women who put this lawsuit in Charlottesville. But also shows you once you stand up for black people, all of a sudden.
Yeah. Once you get identified as a nigger lover, it's over. It's over. And you saw it in the whole Rittenhouse situation.
Yeah.
You have to be 18 plus to open carry on the street. He was not over the age of 18. He was under the age of 18.
Yeah.
Therefore, he was illegally in possession of the weapon. Yeah. But because he looks like that, they found a way to make the argument look like something else.
And there's a reason why there's laws for you there should be things to keep people from roaming the streets with guns, because exactly the disaster situation that happens, like literally a mentally disabled person was roaming the streets. I mean, like, and you're a child with a gun. I mean, like, but yet, I mean, whatever. We're going to talk about a good story. Pretty much a Missouri detective. After 80 years, it took 80 years for this happening, but a Missouri detective was found guilty last week in the death of a black man that was shot in 2019 in his pickup truck. This is an astounding decision, a rarity convention for on-duty killings of police officers. This is like fucking like lightning striking 5 times somewhere, and then a unicorn rides by, and then you see the Loch Ness monster, give the fucking like the Sasquatch a high five. This is what went down in Missouri, Kansas City, They convicted a cop for murder, yo. He's going to jail.
Because we already know that no cop in that jurisdiction has ever committed murder in the last 80 years.
All those cops were just smiling and shaking black people's hands for the past, like, how long Kansas City's been around. So,
yeah.
Mind you, Missouri is like KKK, like Palace Central. But so the judge ruled the detective Eric J. DeValkenaere, which has like he already has like an evil Ghostbuster ghost name already. Eric DeValkenaere.
The thing is, he's a detective.
Yeah.
So that means that he's had to be on the force, for an extended amount of time with an extended amount of experience. So nobody can hide behind inexperience or anything like that.
Yes, we got to break this down. Let's listen to this. So, Detective DeValkenaere, the evil Ghostbuster spirit, and another detective had driven to Mr. Lamb's house after receiving a report about a traffic incident involving the truck that Mr. Lamb was driving, but they had no warrant and did not have a reason to believe a crime had been committed when they rushed into Mr. Lamb's backyard and confronted him. So I want to share just some clips, some video to break down this case, because it went the usual route. Like cops stepped in and help their brother out, by raising money so you can like beat the case, kind of thing happened. That kind of situation. But so I'm gonna play that clip. Then we're gonna talk about just the case itself, the guilty case. To show a clip of that, so I can pull this up. I thought I was watching it. Oh well, let's put the not guilty. We're such in a rush. So let's put this up. Let's let the story speak for itself. I'm gonna pull this video up for you guys and check this out. So this is Eric DeValkenaere. Let's pull it up.
Verdict we mentioned. Back on December 3rd, 2019, Detective Eric DeValkenaere and his partner entered the backyard of Cameron Lamb. That's when the detective shot and killed Lamb. This was a bench trial, and today the judge, citing the Fourth Amendment, found DeValkenaere guilty of involuntary manslaughter and armed criminal action. Shortly after that verdict was read, chants erupted outside the courthouse.
Say his name! Say his name!
But they all wear the clothing of a franchise in a league where they support racism. Black people, what is wrong with you?
What happened?
You want to talk about say his name and all that other stuff?
Oh, Kansas City Chiefs.
American professional football.
No, we're
paraphernalia. You put money in their pocket.
Yeah, I think.
After they blacklisted somebody,
how much people
who was standing up for your life, so that the thing that happened to your family member, he was standing up to make sure, he was kneeling to make sure that would not happen to your family member. And how do you respond? By putting more money in their pocket after they blacklisted him. Black people, what is wrong with us?
I think it's people in sports. I think it's like deeper, because outside New York City, people fucking have the whole cities take over because of sports. Who knows what does that to their brain?
No different. New York City is no different.
No, New York City is definitely different. Yo, when they have when the Saints play in New Orleans, they shut that fucking city down. That's what I mean.
I mean, you're talking about
that's not the same as New York City.
When the Yankees, when the Rangers, when the Knicks play.
No, but it's just not the same because it's not the same geographically. It can't happen because the water is just because it just can't happen in New York City the way it happens in other cities. That's what I'm talking about. Literally, downtown's a stadium, the whole city takes over. This is a phenomenon like this can't happen in New York City unless the Hudson River fills up with land, and you know what I mean. It's just like a different dynamic because of geographicness of like where the stadium is.
I think it's even more intense because you have many more people in a smaller footprint.
And
so
also
it's even more intense here.
And also there's less stuff happening in those cities, right? Like we have people who don't give a shit about sports way more in New York
when
City.
The Knicks are winning, when the Yankees are winning,
I'm saying that's,
when the Rangers are winning. I think it's a different animal.
I think other cities are like insane compared to New York City, and New York City gets
I,
made fun of
it
that.
would be hard for me
Yeah.
to say either way because I haven't been
Yeah.
to a lot of those cities.
But I'm telling, but you just saw an example of it, Dr. Virginia. These people are wearing Kansas City jackets while celebrating their son. This is how crazy other places can be when it comes to like.
I don't know, man. That irritates the shit out of me. You're wearing the you put money in the pocket of the organization that blacklisted the guy who was fighting to make sure that what happened to your family member doesn't happen anymore.
You also have to realize that a lot of the people who this situation, that's why I also come to realize when this stuff happens to families, they're not like, I guess they're not like, conscious of like, they probably never even heard of Malcolm X, some of them sometimes. And then this happens to the family. Then they start reading like Instagram posts about Martin Luther King quotes. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, when this happened to them, they're not in that place. So I definitely can see some people like Jacob Blake's, like when Jacob Blake's family, they come from like a long history of activism. So when this happened to their son, they moved and stepped up. And this is why we all know about this shit. But other families are just like hunky-dory, like, sports loving, almost conservative in a lot of ways, right? And then this happens and they're okay, now, so you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's what's happening with that, because the Kansas City Chief, that was just like an eyesore to see that shit. Like, what?
Yeah, that really pissed me off. Like, and the thing is, of course, I'm gonna try to advocate for on behalf of the family, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, in order for people to be able to successfully come to your defense, you have to come to your own defense. And supporting an organization or a group of organizations that actively work against people who are advocating for you, what more can we do?
Yeah, especially Letterman jackets are so fancy, but I definitely feel that they weren't thinking that way. They just thought they got cool.
Yeah, they definitely didn't make the connection.
Yeah.
Lamb. We're joined now live by KSHP 41 News reporter Andres Gutierrez. And Andres, you were inside the courtroom when the verdict was read, so tell us a little more about that moment.
Well, Caitlin, Cameron Lamb's mother, Lori Bay, started crying quietly as the judge explained how the actions of KCPD Detective Eric DeValkenaere were unlawful. As soon as the guilty verdict was read, herself as well as other family members rushed outside into the hallway and erupted into cheers as well as applause. Inside, the detective remained being comforted by his legal team.
There are certainly numerous significant and troubling issues of fact that have been presented in this case.
After spending almost a week of considering evidence and testimony in the shooting death of Cameron.
He doesn't look that sweaty. He doesn't look that sweaty. He's going to get his
pickup truck. Look at the way he conducts himself. He looks like a real judge. Run that back.
A judge is just a dude with a cape.
Wisconsin, pay attention.
There are certainly numerous significant and troubling issues of fact that have been presented in
troubling
this case.
After spending almost a week of considering evidence and testimony in the shooting death of Cameron Lamb, Jackson County Judge J. Dale Young's verdict centered on whether KCPD Detective Eric DeValkenaere violated the Fourth Amendment, protecting a person's right against unreasonable searches and seizures.
Defendant and Sergeant Schwam had no arrest warrant for Cameron Lamb, nor were they at 4154 College to arrest him, and would not have had probable cause to do so or to obtain a warrant.
During the trial, prosecutors argued DeValkenaere acted recklessly when he entered Lamb's backyard in December of 2019 on suspicion of a crime.
Reckless.
Judge agreed. Judge Youngs also found DeValkenaere wasn't acting in self-defense or trying to protect his partner when he shot Lamb.
That they were both escalating a situation that previously had de-escalated, and that their actions created or exacerbated.
Wow, I can't believe I'm hearing the judge say that.
I'm sorry, you
heard that?
Mr. Rhodes, when you hear him say those things, doesn't it sound like he's talking about Kyle Rittenhouse?
That's an alternate universe. That judge is saying that.
It sounds like he's talking about him. Oh my God! Wow.
Debated the risk.
Wow.
That what ultimately occurred.
Look at him swallow.
Ultimately finding DeValkenaere guilty of involuntary manslaughter and armed criminal action. Lamb's mother surrounded by supporters who sought justice.
There's much hope that comes out of this for this family and for many who stand to come to the legal system
I think 3 years is real light, though.
find the kind of justice that we all believe that this country holds to.
What we sought in this case was a just outcome, and I believe that's where we stand today. This was a legal decision. It was a legal question.
I like the way she said that.
Now, as we just learned moments ago,
question.
DeValkenaere has been suspended from KCPD without pay. He is out on bond until the sentencing happens, and that is supposed to be happening at a later time once the judge is able to confer with both the defense and counsel, the prosecutors, on when to schedule that date. Reporting live at the Jackson County Courthouse, Andres Gutierrez, KSHP 41 News.
You want to begin?
So I want to time
I don't know if
travel.
he needed to blow his nose, but okay.
So I want to time travel to like the typical route where these stories go. It didn't go that way.
I feared for my life.
Yeah. So this is the tip. Yeah. So I want to play this clip where the back to blue stuff started happening.
Top-notch defense says he fights criminal charges in the deadly shooting of Cameron Lamb. Today, the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund praised Officer Eric DeValkenaere.
They fuck.
Run that back. Run that back.
It's David's evil. It's going to summon demons. So.
Lamb. Today, the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund praised Officer Eric DeValkenaere. They say he's a hero.
In the moment, that nigga was going to jail.
Not a criminal, and they'll pay his legal bills. Here's investigative reporter Angie Rocono.
It was clear to us that this was a reasonable, lawful, and frankly, heroic use of force by Detective DeValkenaere.
Jason Johnson says what happened last December is tragic, but it wasn't a crime. It was an officer doing his job.
Never seen a case like this resulting in criminal charges, not even close to it.
Yeah, that's because the law allows for these things to happen.
Feel are wrongly charged. The board of directors
just sprinkle some crack on them and keep
like
it
a
moving.
Former attorney general
well, they
and
tried
retired
to
FBI leaders. An officer can appeal for help, but the director says he contacted DeValkenaere himself after reading and researching his case.
Because politics is involved, there's a contested election in the fall, and we have this sentiment about police out there. It can be advantageous to go after unlawfully, unreasonably, and unethically. Go after law enforcement officers, and I strongly believe that is what is afoot here in this case.
What we believe, though, is that his conduct was reckless.
2 months ago, a grand jury indicted DeValkenaere with involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker pointed out officers did not have permission to enter Cameron
The
Lane's
manslaughter was
property.
involuntary,
Said
but
they
he
simply raced to the
voluntarily pulled that
backyard to
trigger
confront
twice.
him following a high-speed chase. Police say Cameron Lamb pointed his gun at another officer, and that's when DeValkenaere fired his gun.
We don't take every case that.
And apparently that was not true at all.
Yeah,
no,
they
that's true.
Sprinkle crack on Lamb. They sprinkled a gun on Lamb.
Yeah.
Before
The private organization is currently representing other officers in high-profile cases, where prosecutors argue they crossed the line with sometimes deadly results. But the defense fund counters these are good officers who did their jobs. That
yes,
make
they
them
killed some niggers. They did their job.
Angie Rocono, KCTV5.
So you saw that, right? They just had the usual track. Yeah. We did it. We're a hero. We killed a nigga. Let him off. Nope. He's going to jail.
No, they didn't just kill a nigger. They killed a nagger.
I called him. I read about the story, and I called him. You heard that?
And I got his testimony, and his testimony was good enough for me. We've investigated and determined we've done nothing wrong.
So it's crazy to see that was going on the same track as any other story. You know, the black guy, he's an angry black guy with a gun. He had to die. Nope.
You know, just backing his car into his own driveway. You know, angrily. We witnessed him backing his car into his driveway, and it appeared he had a scowl on his face.
Even though, so I want to play. I gotta play it. I'm gonna play this one last clip before we. I have to, it should be for live show, but I want to do this for the record show just so it can be for YouTube as well. I want to play out a reenactment of the Rittenhouse situation of Arbery, huh?
Giving away all our secrets.
Yeah, so I want to play out the I want to play out this Arbery clip. It's crazy to me that people need to check this out. Of like, so like in South Korea they have like those cheesy like 3D reenactments of like stuff, of things happening and whatnot. So they did a reenactment of the Rittenhouse keep mixing all these crazy white people together. McMichael's, the McMichael's case and the Bryan case.
They're the same.
Yeah, they're all monster white people.
They went out looking for trouble and then claimed self-defense. They're all the same.
Yes.
Put Zimmerman in with them too. Why are their names mad long too? Zimmerman, McMichaels, Rittenhouse. I'm glad I got a short last name.
So I'm gonna try to find this.
Mistaken for one of those guys.
Well, for the Rittenhouses, Zimmerman
and the Zimmermans.
Yeah. So they're all, it's crazy to me. So they're trying to make this case. So if you see this reenactment, you'd be like, I can't believe these men are trying to claim this is self-defense. If this is what could have happened in this way, this is the most racist shit I've ever seen ever. If this is how it played out. So I want to play this really exclusive clip. This is kind of what like news agencies send to each other, called a Reuters feed. So I'm going to play this kind of exclusive internet shit. So it shows you kind of reenactment of what happened with the Zimmerman, McMichael's case. So I'm going to play this up for you guys.
Studio.
According to the Baltimore Sun, on February 23rd, Ahmaud Arbery, 25, was running inside the Satilla Shores neighborhood in Brunswick, Georgia, when Gregory McMichael, 64, who was standing in his front yard, noticed him.
Look at that. That's the most racist shit. Huh?
You look like a Lego.
The most racist Lego you could possibly make. So this is what scared them. They saw
Ahmaud
a blue
Arbery,
man.
25, was running inside the Satilla Shores neighborhood in Brunswick, Georgia, when Gregory McMichael, 64, who was standing in his front yard, noticed him. Gregory believed Arbery looked like a man responsible for several break-ins in the neighborhood, so he notified his son, 34-year-old Travis
McMichael, notify his son.
Pickup truck to go after Arbery. They were carrying a .357 Magnum and a shotgun, respectively. The father and son then proceeded to chase Arbery, stopping their vehicle in front of the road, at which point Arbery ran around the pickup truck. Video footage believed to be shot by William Bryan, a third individual participating in the pursuit, shows Travis McMichael.
How scary is this? How scary is this for a black man to see this?
Then proceeded to chase
anywhere,
carrying a .35.
Any person. How scary is this to see this for any person?
And a shotgun, respectively. The father and son then proceeded to chase Arbery.
Unless you're the Terminator or someone who knows you can kill everybody, take everybody's gun and kill everybody, or John Wick or something like that. This is like the most frightening shit you can possibly see ever happen.
His fight or flight was through the roof.
So what's the first thing he did?
On the line.
That's the first thing he did.
Stopping their vehicle in front of the road, at which point Arbery ran around the pickup truck. Video footage believed to be shot by William Bryan, a third individual participating in the pursuit, shows Travis McMichaels holding a shotgun while having a physical altercation with Arbery. 3 shots can be heard. Arbery succumbed from his wounds.
So that's what happened. That's the most. All it took is some old racist man seeing a black man running. So they're trying to claim that as self-defense. So we see, we
went out looking for trouble, and we accosted this nagger. And when we saw that he's got some hands and we don't, we put the shotgun to him. Nothing to say here. No investigation needed.
On investigation, what is my white picket fence?
I mean, nobody should go to jail. Nobody should even be investigated. It's just a dead nagger in the street. Like, it's no big deal, right? They left his body in the street for a while too, right?
Yeah.
So,
because that's what heroes do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to share. So we're going to talk
citizen's arrest by putting him into cardiac arrest and then leaving.
So I want to share that clip. We're going to talk about that reenactment definitely people online have a question about that. But we still shared overall good news about one cop after 80 years in Kansas City is going to jail.
Being held partially accountable because he only got 3 years for killing this guy.
So
and they were suggesting that he was planting evidence to make it seem as though the guy had a gun he didn't have.
Yeah. And you saw that clip before with the cop was like, he was a hero. He did.
There was a black athlete here in New York that got 3 years for shooting himself in the leg by accident. This guy gets 3 years for looking for trouble where there was none, and then trying to falsify and plant evidence on the back end. He gets the same time
what
as
was
an
happening.
athlete who nobody would even known he had the gun unless he cheddar bobbed himself.
So that's Black Power Magic Hour. Bad cop locked up for 3-year cop. So you can follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Discord, YouTube, on Zuckerbook, and then Dr. Genius is on Twitter, Twitch, Discord, YouTube, and that's Bad Cops.